But if he does pull it off, he's only going to be within 5 points. And that's definitely manageable for the last day. So we'll see if he can get that second win. That's what he's looking for. Can I do it? But Magnus looks very determined right now. I didn't like what just happened. We're going to stop this show right here.
Right.
Don't worry, we're not talking about our show, you guys. We're on for the rest of this showdown. Knight of 3, D5, G3 on the board.
And
as we're taking also tweets from the audience at our hashtag Champion Showdown, Sebastian Schnell says, "Wow, this is unexpected by me. I thought Magnus would stay undefeated. Good game by Ding. And thank you, St. Louis Chess Club, and good commentary." Thank you, Sebastian.
Thank you, Sebastian. It looks like the players have transposed into a kind of Fianchetto King's Indian Fianchetto, or do they call this the Grunfeld one now? The D.
I think it looks more like a Grunfeld.
Yeah, with the.
But with the double Fianchetto, though, we've seen this often. Nakamura is a specialist at this, and then some of the players in the other matches would go into these double Fianchetto formations. Just not necessarily the biggest main lines, but who wants to play main lines in this kind of blitz situations?
And the players are blitzing pretty good. I mean, again, this is a 10-minute game, but they're playing the opening pretty rapid fire as if it were a 5-minute game.
That's why we saw,
like, 94, by the way. Sorry.
Despite the lack of increment, we've seen such great time by these players. I think if you took players just a little bit lower rated, we took the absolute elite for the Champion Showdown, you would have seen a lot more disasters in the time scramble.
Yeah, indeed. Knight F3 to D2. I remember when I first saw these types of moves, and they thrilled me. I was about, I'm going to say a B player, A player, because as a B player, A player, it was always, I was trying to get my pieces off the first rank, and if I was going to attack a knight on E4, I'd do it with a guy that's not developed. I would play knight D1, D2 routinely. Then I started seeing experts and master players playing this move, and it really got me to stop and think. If you're going to attack E4, well, by using this knight on F3 to do it, you've unleashed this bishop, and you're hoping for an opportunity to trade twice on E4 and play knight C3 and go after the pawn on E4. That always struck me as a masterclass move, and I was very proud when I understood it.
Well, look at these subtleties being played in this one, because knight from D to F6 was played, and then after a trade on E4, Magnus took back with the bishop, challenging that bishop on E4. So again, another sort of on G2, the non-traditional response. And Ding decided, okay, what if I play bishop to H3, avoiding the trade, only move to do so other than F3, and now I'm going to test you with the move knight to C3, or the move probably knight to C3 to avoid bishop D3, knight to C3, and try to fracture your structure. Give me a little something small to play for. Is this discording his pieces somewhat? Magnus has to prove something right now, as he's played queen to B6 with the threat of taking on C4 immediately, as the pin on the B file is present, and that just gives him small tempo. Knight D2, of course, the bishop will find itself ensconced on D3. So he's played the move F3 instead, promoting this exchange, and Magnus traded and played E6. So Ding has the two bishops, but Magnus has a very rock-solid pawn structure.
Yeah, this is right out of that Schlechter Slav position. I played this in my match against Anatoly Karpov here in St. Louis.
Queen D3, rook E8.
Basically, I set up this really rock-solid, as you were mentioning, pawn formation in the middle of the board here, D5, E6, F7, G6. I put my pawns on light squares, including the move A7, A6. I gave up my light squared bishop, and I said to Talia, what are you going to do? You're going to play E4 and weaken your D4 pawn? And I got very good play in that match, and I liked the position. So even though you could say white won something with the two bishops, it's one of those positions where the position's so closed, the bishops are not operating at full strength.
And the position became even more closed after the move C5.
shutting
E5.
down the queen side.
Queen C7.
Queen
C7.
C7. Not a full-scale shutdown
Black
because
wants to
B6 could
play
happen, but
Or
White
E5.
White may not
E7.
mind seeing this move B6 on the board, and
But
now
E4.
Ooh,
Ooh.
and Magnus, look at Magnus sit back.
Say that's very double-edged.
Magnus leaned back in his chair
It
because
said, I'm not sure you can get away with that one.
he has to take this pawn, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
He has to take this pawn. No, B6,
B6.
sharpening the game even more, ignoring it. I thought he couldn't allow E5 in the
Followed
position,
by
and E5 is
F4.
now on the board. And Magnus said, I don't care about this maneuver. I'm going to break open the queen side with B6.
And knight D7.
And after B4, A5, and A3.
Sorry.
No, you got all the moves right.
E5.
E5, knight D7, B4,
A3, B4,
A5, A3, and then rook from E to B8 and bishop to C3 instantly, and bishop back to F8. And Magnus is making an argument that this is similar to those positions they play in the, am I thinking the Bogo?
No, the Slav as well, where everything gets locked up on the queen side. Sometimes black plays B5 and A B5 opens up the A file. And again, you know, the two bishops, this bishop on C3, just have a quick look at it. It's not really doing anything very special to help
Rook C1
White's position.
played, and then after takes twice on B4 and takes on C5.
Sorry, after
So
bishop
Rook
F8.
C1
Yes.
was played.
Rook C1 in a massive
Takes on
trade.
B4.
B4 trade, C5 trade, and then Rook A3.
B4 trade, C5 trade, and a rook A3.
And now bishop F1.
And we've caught up with the players?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And now this black's
Knight
energy,
takes C5?
black's energy is not really great. I mean, the
Yes.
white's energy is not really great.
It's happened.
And a tactic suddenly on
Knight
the
takes
board.
C5.
Oh no, he missed this move. Knight takes C5 because bishop takes it. And D4 is coming because of the pin
He's
on the
taken
line.
on
And he's
Coming
going
to check.
right into the line. Magnus
Check.
looks like he's stolen. That's two pawns he's got in his pocket, right?
That's right.
Well, he only
That's
win
two.
one at the end of the day. But isn't the bishop on C3 hang? I mean C5.
Well, that's what I'm thinking is too. If you play
mean-
D4, I got Queen C4 to
but
side-
B1
Rook
is-
takes B1.
B1
Rook
is
takes B1,
hanging.
Rook C3.
So I have
So,
to include rook
trade.
takes B8. So we're just looking at
D4 was
D4,
played.
rook takes B8, queen takes B8. Now, thanks to this pin, it looks like black is winning back his piece, but I do
Yeah,
have
what's the
to
deal
move
here?
queen here. You could take a pawn and say, I've got three pawns.
And this was on the board, by the
No,
way.
he played Rook C3. Queen
After
C4.
Queen C4.
We're all in this line now. Queen C4. Rook
Queen-
Oh my
takes
gosh.
C3,
Wow.
and it's this C pawn.
Rook takes C3 is
Because
forward.
That
Queen
is
C5,
passed.
Queen C5, Queen B2.
Yes.
Or
amazing.
queen B1.
Queen B1 as well is
also.
strong with main
Yeah.
threats and C2 coming.
Yeah.
That means he has to take the pawn on C3.
What did he do?
But he has taken it
He
on
has
C5.
taken.
He took on C5. He missed
And
Queen
he is-
B1. The game is over.
Yeah.
He missed it. What? And with 5:30 left on the clock in this position, and he just missed
So King G2,
Queen B1.
C2, Bishop D3.
C1 queen.
C1
Your queen's hanging.
and
You can't get his
our
queen.
queen's hanging,
The
yeah.
game's over.
This is what how the game will shortly end.
Wow, that
Two
was a
queens.
terrible blunder. Queen C3, if he had just taken the pawn, he would have been worse. But he wouldn't have been lost.
It would have been a pawn down, and big chance. Well, this is bad, but you're right. Forced is forced. I mean, there was just
Yeah, that's what
simply
he
no
had to
choice.
play. But he just completely missed the queen going to B1 instead of B2.
Yeah, he saw Queen B2, exactly.
He saw Queen
but
B2,
then there's
missed
Bishop
Queen B1
D3.
with all that time on his clock,
But Queen
and
B2,
now he's
there's
lost.
Queen
And we
B2,
have
there would
to-
have been Bishop D3, and that would
Yes.
hold the position together.
You're fighting, absolutely.
Too
But-
fast.
But
Too fast.
but a great tactical spot there by the world champion. Knight takes C5.
an
Because
unusual-
exactly at that moment, it looked like White had a very compact, he's got a nice space edge. It didn't look like he was particularly vulnerable to any tactics.
The move that was a mistake, of course, was Bishop F1 allowing this tactic.
Yes.
But it was intriguing. Why did he defend his queen with his bishop? At that moment, what was that move about? Now he has to resign. There's just no pet anywhere.
No tricks. Well, let's just see. He is obviously analyzing Queen D6
Yes.
with the idea that in case of You're promoting your pawn. I've got a check.
Yeah, that is a draw. That's
I've got another check, and you can't escape my perpet. So he is thinking about, okay, can I set up some kind of a perpetual with maybe this move queen d6? The problem is, I suppose you can just make Luft.
What about just queen?
Or
What about queen d1? Stopping the first check.
that's also very nice. No, queen d1 is a very good move. Thank you. Well, wait a minute, Maurice. I can play bishop d3 in this case. I'm still got the perpet on tap.
So your king can go to h.
Oh,
Queen
you're
D2
right.
check first.
Yeah, I can then go queen h6 check so that I can block on f8 with my queen, and there's no perpet.
Very instructive how that queen comes back to the defense.
Exactly.
I love that.
How did it go from b1 to h6?
Somehow
Magic.
these lines are all proving the point that it's good to have two queens. Who would have thought?
I'll raise my hand
Okay.
on that one. Two queens are better than one.
This game is over.
Yes, but he's
He
at
has
least
played
going
queen
to get,
d6.
and we're expecting queen
Last hope.
d1. That's a nice, for offense and defensive purposes, the move queen b1 to d1.
He made that mistake with so much time on his clock. Magnus now looking for another way. Nope.
And
Queen
he's
d1
going
is
to-
found.
excuse me.
Bishop d3, and he's seen the check in flat second. Oh, look at Magnus. That's it. Cleaning up any little garbage
After
ideas he
bishop
might have.
d3, he did play queen
Did
d2.
everything exactly as we said with queen
Yeah.
h6 check.
Very nice finish.
Very
Very
bad
nice tactic.
mistake. Very bad mistake. I'm sorry.
Sir.
It was a nice tactic, but a bad mistake by Ding Liren.
Let's recap that mistake.